All right. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Chad Bowling. I'm the broadband manager at the Wyoming Business Council. With us today, we have Mitch Herget, Vince Acock, Tim Moyer, and Morgan Barnes joining us as part of our staff here at the Wyoming Broadband Office. Today, we'll be going into a deep dive of BEAD Milestone 1 as well as the UNIA Grants Management System. This meeting is being recorded and we'll have it uploaded to the Wyoming Business Council website probably by tomorrow or by Wednesday. And then also, if there are any questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom ribbon of the Zoom meeting. Ask your question there, and we will get through them throughout the call and get those answered. So without further ado, Morgan, I will hand it off over to you, and we will get started.
All right, thanks so much, Chad. We are excited to be here. This webinar is set to cover more in depth through UNA, that BEAD Milestone 1 space, how you will document that work that Mitch talked about last week or the week before. The days seem to run together. So this will set you up for success and make sure you have all the information through UNA to get that submission happening. And we will also go over the EHP reports that are within UNA, and then we'll have some time for questions. Now, as previously shared, I know all of you have, that their EHP questionnaire that is linked on the website is part of your Milestone 1 submission, so there's some overlap there with EHP, but that is not the same thing as the EHP report within the UNA system. So this time will be spent doing that. Those are the main housekeeping points I wanted to make. Mitch, was there anything I missed there?
No, I think you covered it, Morgan. In previous webinars, we talked about the contents of the project plan, milestone 1, the project plan submission. We also talked about 2 weeks ago, we talked about where you can find the details in the program guide as well as the specific upload templates required. Today, Vince will be walking through how that actual upload and submission works in Asana by doing the demo, in UNA by doing the demo of multiple platforms on the brain here. And this will give you the context, hopefully, to go through and have success when you're doing the upload. If you run into snags, of course, there's always the support from WBO with technical assistance and answering questions as needed as we move forward. So I think this goes a long way. This presentation goes a long way to help getting you on the right track. But if there's any hiccups, again, happy to support helping you figure out any questions or things you need to get answered.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mitch. And with that, like I shared, we're going to transfer over to Vince. He is our UNA or grant management system expert on staff, and he will lead us through the process. Again, as Chad shared, if you had questions, please go ahead and drop them in the Q&A portion, and we'll make sure to get to those later. Additionally, we have EHP expert on the meeting today as well to answer any questions that may go along with that. But you should have access to all of these spaces. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and let Vince take over. Go for it, Vince.
Thank you, Morgan. Like the agenda said, we're going to start with some UNIA Basics. And the very first thing that should have happened is our lead contact with your organization should have received an email that looks something like this. It'll be from noreply@gotomygrants.com, and it'll say, "Congratulations, you have received an award. Go ahead and click this link to get set up in there." Once you click that link and create an account and all of that good stuff, you will start landing on this calendar page after logging in. This calendar page is going to be useful for y'all to show you due dates for certain things like quarterly reports, SAR reports, that kind of thing. You can see I have a sample task on the calendar. This is how they'll show up when we start assigning those to you. As the lead contact, you will be the only person who has access initially. In order to add new users from your organization, you'll have to navigate to Administration, System Security, and then Users over here on the left. And you can see as we load, I already have a couple set in, but to create a new one, there is this plus icon in the top right. And I'll just go ahead and click plus, and that'll take me to the creation screen. The daily and weekly emails, we generally recommend you keep them on. The departments is also a non-issue, don't worry about that one. The object types and advanced restrictions determine what they have access to in UNA. In general, account, all records, and admin mean they can do everything. They can create, they can edit, they can see, and they can do that in every part of UNA. Staff information, I'm just going to go ahead and enter some dummy information. The first name and last name are required. You may enter title, supervisor, all of this, but the only things that are required to create a user are the first and last name and the email address. So in this case, I'm going to use just a dummy email so no one gets a mystery notification, and I'm going to click create down in the bottom right. Now, if this person already has a UNA account, they'll be able to log in and see this no problem. If they don't have a UNA account, you'll have to click this envelope button in the top right to send them an invitation. And that'll send an email that looks like this, which will instruct them, hey, you've been requested to join an organization in UNA. Go ahead and click this link to set up a password and login. And from there, it's exactly like how it was when you first started the first logged in as a member of the organization. Okay, that's the basics. That's the very general, here's how to get in and here's how to add users. The next thing we're going to do is talk about how to get to your grants. So you'll see over here this grant management, and then you can click right on grants there, and it'll take you to a table that shows you all of your grants. You may have one, you may have more, it depends on your agreement with the state of Wyoming. In this case, I have two, and I'm going to go ahead and click into the demo award here. So I just click on the name and it takes me in. In here, this is the award details page. This is a great at-a-glance look at your award. It tells you your budget, your grant-funded amount, your match requirement, some basic information about expenses, timeline. So this is a great landing page to just get some surface-level information. The next thing that is useful to know how to get to is your budget. To do that, it's going to be post-award, financial, budget, up here at the top. And the first time you navigate to this budget, this line item and match checkbox will be unchecked. I highly recommend you check both of them. It makes reading this a lot easier. And this is your budget according to the contract. So you can see here, aggregated project plan with milestones and budget. That milestone is 5% of your total award. So we've applied 5% of the total award to the grant funded budgeted and 5% of the total match to the match budgeted. We'll get into match a little bit later. It's a little complicated, but just keep in mind that this number is 5% of the total match in your contract. And then down here, it's 2%, and we've budgeted out like that. So this is another good place to look. It's another good tab to have open as we go into the next step, which is how to submit a milestone disbursement request. So I'm actually going to open this in a new tab so that I can have this to refer back to. And that's going to be under post-award, cash flow, payment requests. My right click will work. Thank you very much. So it's important to note that UNA uses some language for some objects that is not necessarily accurate to the BEAD program. For instance, payment requests, it's a milestone disbursement request. Once we get into payment requests, you'll see some language about expenses. They're not expenses, they're proof of milestone completion. And again, we'll get into that in just a second as we click the plus icon in the top right to create a new one. So I'm going to create this for milestone 1. That's the project plan milestone. And we request that your payment request name includes your award number. And this is just a placeholder. And then whatever the milestone you're submitting for. So in this case, it's milestone 1, project plan. The date created, you can leave as the current date, but this expenses from and to field are very, very important. This is crucial to this functionality. You're going to set this to the entire duration of your award. So in this case, this demo award I've created, it's June 1st, 2026 to June 1st, 2021. If you do not do this properly, this financial detail table does not populate correctly. So payment type, you're going to leave as reimbursement. And then you're going to go down here and create a new expense. And again, this expense is not, you're not telling us the expense of, you're not telling us your expenses as you would on a reimbursement-based grant. You're telling us we've completed a milestone and this is proof. So I'm going to click here to create a new expense and it'll bring up this pop-up. Under category, you'll select the category of the milestone. So in this case, I've got project plan, engineering, pre-deployment, all of these. I'm in project plan, so I'm going to select that. And then the line item, which is the actual specific milestone. So in this case, aggregated project plan. The direct cost, this is where things get a little complicated. The first thing I'm going to do is refer back to my budget and see, okay, my grant funded for the project plan is $5,000. Okay, so that's my starting point, $5,000. You're going to take that and then you're going to add the match that you've expended on this milestone. And you can see again, we've budgeted you 5% of the match budget on this project plan. You may not meet that for these early ones. You may go above that. The important thing is that it's in proportionality, and we'll show you how to talk about that in a little bit. So in this case, let's say my match budgeted is 1,250. Maybe I only spent 1,000. Maybe I was short 250. So the direct cost, like I said, is the amount of grant funded budgeted plus the amount of match expended. So 5,000 plus 1,000 is 6,000. The next thing, we're going to come back to this number in just a moment. The next thing is the expense date, which is also extremely important. If you set the payment request expenses from and to the entire award, there should be no problem here. Just set the expense date to the day you're entering it. The best practice is to only have one payment request active at a time and not to have one for the project plan and then to get another kickstart on the engineering 20% milestone. It's best to only have one active at a time. Once you've set the expense date, we're going to return to that direct cost number. We're going to go to financials and we're going to see this table where it breaks out as it stands, how much grant funded there is, how much match amount there is, and how much the direct cost is. Your goal is to get this grant funded number to match the grant funded number on your budget. So this is easy math. I know how much match I expended. It's $1,000. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm on the dollar option for both of these. And it's important that you break out what of your match was cash and what of your match was in kind. So let's say I did $750 of cash and $250 of in kind. And you can see my grant funded and match amount are changing as I add this. And now I'm at this point and I can validate. I can say, okay, grant funded budgeted, that's 5,000, that's correct. The match amount, that's 1,000. That's correct, that's great. And my cash match and in kind are both accurate. At this point, you're going to go to the attachments page. And this is where you're going to attach all of those files that we ask you to provide. So I'm going to click on choose file, and that will bring up a file explorer. And from here, you can add them one at a time, or you can add them in bulk. I'll show you both of those. But we do ask that you upload them separately as individual files and not as a zip file. So I will go ahead and just add this one and show you what that looks like. And if you added it by mistake, you can go ahead and click the trash can to get rid of it. In this case, I know this entire folder that I've set up has all of the required attachments, so I'm just going to select them all and click open. And then it will take a second and populate them here. Once you're done, you can go ahead and click create. And it'll have to think for a second, but this financial detail page should, there it goes. It should populate with those numbers that you entered. And just go ahead and validate one more time. Okay, this is the correct math. This is the match. This is the in-kind. And this is the grant funded. Perfect, beautiful. We're where we need to be. So my requested amount is going to be this grant funded number. And for ease to make sure I don't make any weird mistake, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this total number down here and paste it right there. The next thing that you have to do is you have to scroll past additional information to this match information section. This first question is very important. Has the match source for this milestone changed from what was indicated in your grant agreement? I'm going to select no because it hasn't, and I haven't had any sort of conversation with anyone from Wyoming to make sure that that's clear and valid. So I'm selecting no because no, this is what I told y'all. However, if your match source has changed or you have not met the required match for this milestone, please explain. This is where we're going to talk about the fact that I only matched $1,000, but I had $1,250 budgeted for this milestone. So I'll say, okay, I only made $1,000 because project plan expenses were lower than expected. We anticipate to make the match up in the engineering milestones. So from here, I have 3 buttons down here. I have create, submit, and cancel. Create, you can think of as a save button. And in fact, once you click create, if you go back into edit, it changes to save. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll click create. And it saves this as a record. I'm going to really quick show you what that looks like from that payment request table, because that's important if you ever have to come back to this. So in this same payment request table, which you can get to from post-award cash flow payment requests, you can see I now have a pencil icon here. And I can go ahead and click on that to edit it, or I can click the name to go into it. And then the pencil icon up in the top right. It's important to note, you cannot save there are there's one requirement to creating a payment request as a saved object, and that's to answer this first match information question. You have to answer that before you can save it. But you can see I now have a save button instead of a create button down here. But I've looked at this, I've come back to this, all of my math is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit to send it to the state of Wyoming. It brings up a little pop-up to make sure you validate it. The requested amount for this payment request is $5,000. That's correct. Beautiful. It reminds me that I cannot make any further changes after submission. Once I send this to the broadband office, this is out of my hands. I can't touch it. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. Okay. At this point, it's in our hands to review. We are taking a look at it. We're reviewing all of your attachments. We're figuring all that out if it's adequate. And we will either approve it or we will reject it for curing. Rejecting for curing is very scary. It's going to send you a big email that says, hey, we rejected your request. And it'll have some notes in there why we rejected it. We're just trying to make sure that the milestone disbursement request is accurate so we can all make sure we are in alignment. So that email is going to look like this. It'll say, the State of Wyoming Broadband Office has rejected your payment request. Please log into Unigrants to view the payment request. And you'll get an email like that, and you'll log back into UNA. From this payment request table, you can see this sample request I rejected earlier. I have a pencil here. I can go into edit it, make any changes that were requested of me, and resubmit it. Okay. The next kind of workflow that y'all will have to be doing in UNA is reporting. The EHP information, quarterly reports, SARs, that kind of stuff will also be done through UNA. And that will be accessed through this custom button up here. You're going to click and it will drop down all of the custom forms you have available to you. Right now, this award has quarterly report and EHP report, the EHP submission. I'm going to go ahead and select the EHP submission. And it'll take you to a table of all of the submissions you've created. For EHP, I believe there should only be one submission, and I'm going to let someone stop me if that's wrong. But so ignore this. That was a test from earlier. You're going to click, just like you were creating a payment request, you're going to click Create up in the top right, and it'll take you to a little form with all of the EHP questions. You can see we've got asterisks for required questions, and we've got a couple of different ways we can answer a question. We've got a date. So today's date, 6/29. Great. We've got an upload field here. We've got a link to follow for some extra guidance. We've got some attachments. And then a little further down, we start getting these yes or no buttons. So yes or no. It's important to note these questions, like EHP 2.02, if yes, provide a map and supporting details to explain the relationship to the project. This doesn't have an asterisk, so UNA doesn't require it, but we require it. So make sure that you are reading the questions very carefully and answering questions that have instructions. So if I answered yes to this EHP 2.01, I would have to answer this question. I didn't, so I have to answer this question. And I would scroll down and I would answer all of these questions. I would upload all of the relevant files. And when I get to the bottom, we see very similar buttons. We have Save as Draft and Submit. Save as Draft does what it says on the tin. Just like clicking Create on a payment request, it will save this so you can come back to it later. And in the same way, I can click the pencil to get into edit, or I can click this link in the far left, and then the pencil in the top right. Then once you're ready, you can click a submit button. This will send it just like a payment request. This will send it to us. We'll review it. We'll make sure no changes have to be made, no curing has to be done. And if curing does have to be done, you will receive, just like a payment request, a rejection email. Those are the big workflows that you have to be aware of in UNA. Just to recap, that's adding users from this administration system security users page. That is reviewing your budget and submitting payment requests or milestone disbursement requests, which is from post-award financials budget and post-award cash flow payment requests, and then submitting these required reports, which is under custom. And that is the bulk of these UNA requirements. If there are questions, I think we can go ahead and take them now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vince. The first question that has come in is the budget pre-populated or do we populate? That's from Michelle. And that is pre-populated, correct, Vince?
Yeah, that's pre-populated based on your contract. We did that as part of the award configuration.
And that is a breakdown, right, of the percentage of the total project award and the associated percentages of that milestone. So that is the budgeted amount per milestone. And then additionally, NTA requires that the match be proportionate to the drawdown money, not the actuals incurred, meaning that we're able to calculate the required match needed at that time of disbursement as well. And I wanted to touch back on that briefly as well. While it may be possible, as you pointed out, Vince, you could be well ahead on matching funds by the time you get to milestone disbursement, for showing what's booked expenses to the project. You may be behind. In the case where you're behind, I find that may be unlikely in many scenarios, and we do need a level of rigor that goes into the explanation to why. You did a quick sample there that was relatively clear, but I think when we need actual resolution, we need like a timing of the resolution as well and some additional details, and that'll be part of the curing process, right? If there is some amount of match below the required amount during a given disbursement, that will prompt WBO to look in closer and collaborate with you, because NTIA will scrutinize that. So we need to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row. Again, it may be unlikely that you run into a situation where you're not able to book that appropriate match, but we'll take those on a case-by-case basis.
All right. Thank you so much, Mitch and Vince. There are currently...
Sorry, Morgan.
Oh,
I just want to make sure Tim answered my question from earlier in the chat. I just wanted to make sure that was said out loud. The EHP form is only one per award, so you would not see multiple entries on that table.
great flag. Thank you, Vince. While folks are thinking about their next questions, I will just share a little bit. I know you are expecting a SAR report in there as well as a quarterly report. We did receive some additional guidance from NTIA last week, so that is still incoming. Look for an email. When those open up, they will be due July 14th, but it won't be exhaustive and it won't be a big lift. We just want to make sure we get it right so that as you carry on through the life of this program, you have all the information you need at the beginning. And while we wait for any other questions, I will just also share that this recording will be posted on the website, as Chad said, and we'll make sure to send out any additional resources and documentation that you might need via email.
Thanks, Morgan. To reiterate, this go around of the semi-annual report, because we have not dispersed any funds between now and tomorrow, I guess. The lift for individuals should be a little bit lighter this go around for each of the providers than next time when we presumably had funds go out the door for everyone. In that case, there'll be some additional information that NTIA requires. And so again, this is maybe a good warm-up exercise for those who have signed their contracts and are ready to move forward with their programs or their projects. And I'll just keep filling there for a few more minutes while we see if there's any questions. Maybe it's that straightforward. Again, if there's any complications, issues, or errors, reach out to WBO through the normal mechanism to get any questions resolved. The program guide contains the information needed for the components that get submitted along with the milestone disbursement process. And if there's any questions of that, again, WBO can answer, but it's relatively, self-contained on the program guide and the associated templates that are uploaded to the state's website.
Absolutely. It looks like we do have an additional question in. Will we be submitting both quarterly and SAR reports in July? Yes, Candace, that is correct. They are asking two different sets of information, one for Wyoming Broadband Office and then one that we aggregate for the federal government. So yes, two reports in July, but as Mitch shared, since no monies have been dispersed, this should be relatively easy. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and Wyoming Broadband Office is happy to support in whatever way we need to.
That's correct. And then next quarter, there will be just a quarterly report followed by the following quarter, which will be a SAR and quarterly report as well. The thought process behind it is we don't want you to have to answer unnecessary questions in the quarters in between. So I think of it as there's always a quarterly report, and the SAR is an additive piece for additional information required by NTIA.
All right, great question, Michelle. How often can payment requests be made? And that is as often as you hit those milestone disbursements. As soon as you hit the milestones, you can request that payment there.
And I would say the one caveat to that, and it's semantics, is no milestones for any ground disturbing activities can be requested or even really initiated until you have your environmental approval. So let's just make sure we're mindful of that. But for the most part, yes, they can all be done as soon as they're ready and you've satisfied the requirements to do so. Vince had mentioned, I'm just going to continue to fill the air for a few more minutes in case any questions come in. Vince had mentioned that, if there is curing required, there's rejection, and curing, it is not something that is, well, it's serious, but it's not something that you would be worried about, especially with this first milestone disbursement. There's quite a possibility that something is entered correctly or that we have questions on the project plan. This project plan milestone is going to help set out how you're going to meet the rest of your milestones in portion and in timing and all this information that'll be useful for WBO to move forward. So we're going to take some time and energy into making sure that we collectively, the state and the subrecipient, have it correct before we move forward. I expect a little bit of curing and a little bit of communication back and forth on this first one before the payment is approved, but this will help facilitate all future milestone submissions to be as efficient and effective as we move forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Perfect. Thanks for everyone for taking the time to join our call today. In the meantime, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly and I'll get your questions answered. And then again, this meeting will be posted to the Wyoming Business Council website by Wednesday. So anyone that joined late, missed any portions of the call, you'll be able to find this meeting there. So, but thanks again, everyone, for joining. Have a great week. And we will talk soon. Take care. Thank you. Bye.